Hello, my name is Pauline and I will be your host for today. Welcome to this June's edition of the EPALE Newscast, the live broadcast that brings you the latest news in adult learning from the EPALE community and beyond. As usual, this new format will take place every first Monday of the month at 12. So what's up for today's news? And I will say that the news are quite eventful. So the first news for today is that the European Year of Skills has officially kicked off. On May the 9th, which is as a symbol of Europe Days, the European Commission organized a European Year of Skills festival online. And this was the official launch of the year. And on that day, President von der Leyen cleverly recalled that investing in training is not just the right thing to do, but it is the smart thing to do. And you can read more about this festival on the EPALE website. There's also a second European event that is going to take place this week on the 8th and 9th of June under the title of Making Skills Count. And this event will showcase initiatives that recognize the value and the visibility of skills. And you can find more information about the event on the webpage of Making Skills Count, and I think the link will be shared to you. And you can still register for online participation, so I really recommend you to do so. And by the way, for today, we'll have a special guest from the European Commission who knows a lot about this European Year of Skills and will tell you a bit more about it, so stay tuned until the end of this newscast. And last but not least on this eventful list, the Lifelong Learning Platform organized the European Policy Conference on the validation of transversal skills. It took place in May and in Stockholm in Sweden. And this conference provided a forum to talk about the future of the validation of transversal skills. And it was under the presence and the patronage of the European Swedish presidency of the Council of the European Union. And this conference was the final conference of the Transval EU project, which is, as of today, the largest experimentation on the validation of transversal skills. So you can check out its LinkedIn page. So it's Transval EU on LinkedIn, and you can find weekly news about the project and read about the research results, which are very, very promising. Now, let's see what EPALE has in store for us. So EPALE will host a new online discussion. It is a live stream on the morning of June 27 from 10 to 10:45. This live event will welcome guest speaker Sam Duncan, who is Associate Professor in Adult Education and Literacies at the UCL Institute of Education in London. He will also be joined by other experts in adult learning and basic skills, and the session will be moderated by Tamas Arangozo from the European Basic Skills Network. So save the date for June 27, and you can also find more information on the EPALE website. And talking about literacy, the latest EPALE blog post is about language learning. Knowledge of one or more foreign languages is essential for active participation in our society. So indeed, it brings a lot of labor market returns and improves social inclusion. Plus, the mastery of one or more foreign languages is important both at individual and societal level. So check out this new blog post, which is also on EPALE, and it is from Professor Loris Vergolini, and the blog is about language learning, a key skill for the present and for the future. And in this blog post, you can also read what can policymakers do to encourage foreign language learning. Now, on a different matter, also coming soon on EPALE, you will find Professors Linus Andersson, reflections on digitalization and implications of digitalization on information, society, and the democracy. But if you're keen on career guidance, you can also find the latest interview from Peter Schlugel on how to become an educational and career counselor. So that was it about EPALE News. Now I'm very glad to move on with the interview with Anne Branch, who is our special guest for today. Anne is the head of unit on the skills agenda at the Directorate General for Employment and Social Affairs at the European Commission, and she has a very crucial role in ensuring the delivery of the European Year of Skills, and we are very happy to have her on air today. So Anne, I'm very pleased to welcome you in this EPALE Newscast. Thank you very much for joining, and I will ask you the first question directly is why do we need the European Year of Skill? Why now? Please tell us.
So thank you very much, Pauline. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So thank you, Pauline, and thank you to EPALE. First of all, I should say I'm very happy to join this newscast, and it's my first opportunity since I started in this post in mid-October to actually meet to meet with the EPALE community. So I'm very happy to have this opportunity. Now, indeed, I've been very busy in the first months of my job in getting the European Year of Skills up and running. So why do we need a European Year of Skills, and why now? The reason is very simple. We need one because Europe is facing major skill shortages and skills mismatches in the labour market. And there's a realization across the economy that a number of our other goals, including our climate target goals, won't be met unless we act on these skills gaps and shortages. So skills are fundamental to everything we do. And I'd say there are three particular triggers as to why we need the year so urgently. I mean, the first relates to the green and digital transitions, which are key objectives for the EU and its member states, including the European Green Deal. Now, these transitions offer enormous opportunities in terms of quality job creation. However, we do need a skilled workforce to achieve them. I mean, I think one can give the example of the fact that we need to move towards energy efficient construction, installing solar panels, installing heat pumps, which everyone is talking about, new battery technology, cybersecurity specialists, the fact that we all will need to adapt to new waves of artificial intelligence, both as workers and as citizens. So we need the right skills for all of this. Now, the second set of factors relate to the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's war of aggression in Ukraine. What they've done is that they've demonstrated dramatically the weaknesses in our supply chains and our overdependence on other countries for many fundamental things. During COVID, you'll remember it was how we were shocked that we couldn't even find face masks initially. We all know about semiconductors. Now with the Russian war of aggression, energy supply issues. We also know, of course, from COVID that we need more nurses, we'll need more long-term carers. And so the resilience of our economy and society really needs more skilled labour. And perhaps the third trigger why we need the European year so urgently is also the reality around our demography in Europe. I mean, basically, we're ageing as a continent. And this means that over time, our working age population is shrinking. And even if we optimize the skills of everyone in Europe, we still need to attract more third country nationals as we look ahead, and we need to become more attractive to people from third countries. So those are three triggers why we need the year now. But there are perhaps two sets of figures that I can mention that we often mention to illustrate the scale of the skills challenges we're facing. One relates to what we hear from companies, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises who are struggling to find workers with the skills they need. More than 75% of companies report these difficulties. And it looks like, I think at latest count, we're seeing that 38 occupations are now classified as having shortages. I mean, so that's significant. And then the other figures we often refer to are you're well aware here of the need for adult reskilling and upskilling. And we know that too few adults take part in upskilling and reskilling each year. We estimate that the adult learning rates are very low at about 37%. And our goal by 2030 across the EU is to try to ensure that 60% of adults should take part in reskilling and upskilling each year. but we're still a long way from reaching the target. So with all these elements, it was concluded that this is a transversal issue for every economic sector and society. So we need a year to shake things up. We want to address the kind of acute skilled labour shortages. We want to improve the chances of working age adults for more and better jobs, and to support young people in their career efforts. So the year is going to aim to increase and improve investment in skills, to make sure that skills are relevant, to match people's actual aspirations with labour market needs, and to attract skilled talent to Europe. So overall, we want to carry on with our goal of trying to change the mindset towards lifelong upskilling and reskilling, which is not new. Indeed, since the 2020 European Skills Agenda, we've been calling for a skills revolution in Europe. And now, but we really need it to happen. And this is what the year is about.
Mm. Yeah, indeed, it seems that it's a very timely year with all the current challenges that we face in Europe. And I can imagine that there's a lot of expectations from many stakeholders. So can you tell us what is happening during the European Year of Skills and what is about to happen?
Okay, thank you. So you mentioned already that the year kicked off on the 9th of May. Indeed, this was the European Parliament wanted very much for the year to kick off on the symbolic 9th of May, which is Europe Day. So it will run for 12 months until early May next year, and a lot will be happening. So I would highlight that there are 5 different types of activity that are going on. Now, I think the first thing to mention is that we want the year to boost implementation of existing initiatives. This is really important because a great deal has already been done and your community knows this. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. But the problem we're facing is that often implementation doesn't follow in practice on the ground. So the year is very much about trying to turn policy into reality, building upon many of the initiatives we've already agreed. So the EU Skills Agenda, which includes things like individual learning accounts and the Pact for Skills, and making use of the massive EU funding for skills now. We estimate something like 65 billion euros across the different EU funds that are available for skills under this 7-year financing period. So this is a really important set of activities where we want to push for implementation on the ground, turning policy into reality. Now, the second category of the activity I would highlight are events. A lot of events will be taking place, and events aren't just talking shops, they matter because they foster awareness, debate, policy reflection, and they contribute to action. Now, across Europe and at the national level, at the last count, there were almost 700 planned events, and we expect that number to grow significantly. At the EU level alone, we've recently counted over 180 initiatives are being organised by the Commission and its agencies. That's not just events, but there are many events in there. And I want to give a few examples, for example, of EU level events. Pauline, you mentioned already the launch festival that was held on the 9th of May, which was about really celebrating and showcasing the work of stakeholders and actors on the ground. And there were really impressive viewing figures. You can watch it on YouTube, the whole thing, if you want to. It's an hour and a half, but there's also a 1-minute clip with some nice sound bites. So if you missed it, you can still see it. As Pauline also mentioned, this week we have the Making Skills Count conference. So I would just remind you that, as Pauline said, that you can still join online. So please, you can still register to join online. So please do tune in. And we're very happy to see that EPALE and the Lifelong Learning Platform will be present at the conference and on our marketplace. Now, just a few more examples of very obviously skills-related events coming up at the EU level. At the end of June, there'll be a high-level 10-year anniversary event celebrating the European Alliance for Apprenticeships. And in October, there'll be the 7th edition of the European Vocational Education and Training Week. Other EU-level events which are organised by other Commission departments include EU Green Week, which is also taking place this week, and there's a strong emphasis on skills there. Later this month, there's also the EU Sustainable Energy Week, And in October is a very busy month. We have EU Code Week, there's going to be Creative Skills Week, and it's going to be Cybersecurity Month. But what I want to show by mentioning those is that this is just some of the events that are taking place, but it shows just how important skills are to all economic sectors. In early 2024 as well, we'll have another event which will look at the legacy of the year and look forward to avenues of exploration for policy for the future. So those are just a snippet, just a brief insight into EU level events. But then I should stress that there are going to be many hundreds of stakeholder events. So including, I'm glad to see the EPALE Community Conference in October. So a lot of events, and we have a website with a map where stakeholders can upload their events. So then the third type of activity will be new EU policy initiatives. I said that the year is very much about promoting implementation of what's already supposed to happen, but there will be some new EU policy initiatives as well. So some are more obviously related to skills. So for example, in April, the Commission put forward a digital education and skills package. And then coming up later this year, there will be an initiative to improve the quality of traineeships. There'll be an initiative on a learning mobility framework, and there'll be initiatives on third country nationals qualifications and an EU talent pool. But then there are also broader EU initiatives which are relevant to skills. So, for example, the Green Deal Industrial Plan and the Net Zero Industry Act, which were put forward by the Commission earlier this year, they also have important skills dimensions and chapters. So the third category consists of a lot of new policy initiatives. The fourth type of activity relates to communication efforts and awareness-raising campaigns. I mean, European years are very much about communication. They're about creating political momentum and action, but you need to do that through communication. So for this, we need very close engagement with stakeholders at all levels. We want to raise awareness among stakeholders about the importance of investing in skills and of developing comprehensive skills strategies. And we want to inform citizens and businesses about the role and availability of reskilling and upskilling opportunities. We've developed a communication toolkit to coordinate across the EU institutions and with stakeholders. And the toolkit can also help stakeholders to, if they want to use it, to maximize the impact of joint messaging. So we strongly urge stakeholders to make use of it. And perhaps then the fifth and final area that I would highlight in terms of activities this year relates to the national level, to outreach at the national level. Because one thing we want to do with the European year is to get beyond EU circles and Brussels. We want to reach out as far as possible across Europe in member states at all levels. We can't do that alone. To help with this, national coordinators for the year have been set up, have been appointed by the member states and also in the EFTA and candidate countries. So they're supposed to be responsible for kind of organizing activities in their countries. The list of national coordinators can be found on the website of the year. So if your members, I would strongly urge the EPALE community to reach out to the national coordinators. We're also collaborating closely with Commission representations in the member states, as well as the National European Parliament information offices and Europe Direct Centres. So again, I would encourage all of you to please reach out to these different entities in your country. So yeah, so I would say a lot going on and 5 different types of activity.
That sounds really great. I did say that this newscast was eventful, but I must say that the European Year of Skill is going to be eventful, perhaps the most eventful year that we have had. I see a lot of interest from stakeholders. And talking about stakeholders, you already mentioned that there is a communication toolkit on the website that stakeholders can use. Can you also tell us how can different organizations, actors, including from civil society, how can they get involved in European Year of Skills?
Yes, sure. Well, first of all, we really, as I said before, we really want all organizations and stakeholders and civil society, social partners, chambers of commerce, companies, public authorities, education training providers. We want everyone to engage and get involved, because we do need to get this message beyond Brussels, because ultimately where things happen for skills are at the national level. That's where people are. So we need to work together. So there are different things we would ask, we would suggest. First of all, we'd encourage everyone here and stakeholders we'll start thinking about your engagement in the year. For example, are there activities you're planning or you'd like to organize which are relevant to the goals of the year? Which topics that you're working on are relevant to the year? Which stakeholders and other actors would you like to connect to? So those are things to start thinking about. We would strongly urge stakeholders to help us communicate. So, for example, please spread the word and share updates on social media using the hashtag European Year of Skills, which I think might come across your screens soon, and follow us on EU Social. Please contact your national coordinator, and this would be really great if you get involved with them. And we urge stakeholders to organize events at national, regional, and local levels and brand them under the year. We have a visual identity, and you can upload them onto a map on our website. It's a map of Europe, and it's that can give good visibility for your events across Europe. And these events could be things like sharing good practices. They could be providing information on existing opportunities to the public or to stakeholders, or they could be holding discussions and reflections on policy making and skills. So just some examples. We also invite you to look into the EU funding opportunities, tools and networks that can support your actions and liaise with other stakeholders. And please do feel free to share good practices with us, including stories of projects and individuals that have benefited from EU funding through our website. We can give visibility and help inspire many other people across Europe. We have a functional mailbox for that. It's on our website. It might come across your screens as well. So those are some of the ways where we think civil society should get involved. We will, of course, with all our events, be reaching out in different ways over the year, also with stakeholders, and happy to try to join as many events as possible. So a lot going on, and really, really welcome the involvement of civil society and the EPALE community.
Well, I think the EPALE community is going to be very active on this topic. So now is the end of this newscast. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Anne Branch, for joining us for today and for sharing all these very exciting events coming soon and other initiatives. But before leaving, make sure that you submit your EPALE community story, so you can brand it as a European Year of Skill as well as EPALE community story. And you can have a look at this year teaser now. Okay, and be sure to be tuned on July the 3rd for the next episode of this newscast. Bye-bye.